Hey, this is Thursday, what is it? It's Thursday, July 2nd. It's Thursday, July 2nd, 2020. Wow. Having a little moment there. Okay. It's Thursday, July 2nd, 2020. This is the Pro and Con Show, and I'm your host, Michael James Ott. And as always, welcome to the show. Yeah, welcome to the show. So the show, of course, I'm begging people, really begging. Please, let's all be better citizens. And by that, I mean we've got to be willing to at least listen to each other. We have to talk about these serious issues that confront us, whether it's the pandemic or deficit spending or gun control or whatever. Okay. These issues have significant meat around them. They do not fit on a 4-word bumper sticker or something like that. And we really need to spend the time to understand where we're coming from here. So to really do some in-depth kind of look at this stuff, and one of those ways that we can do that as individuals is talk to each other and say, tell me the path, tell me the walk in life that got you to where you are on this issue: abortion, guns, liberal, conservative, whatever. And then let me tell you the walk in life that got me to where I am. And once you've done that, once you've had that discussion, I guarantee you, because I've seen it, I bet it's 200 times, that people really have a lot more in common, really, truly, in how they think and how they feel about a lot of these issues. They just don't know it because they're ill-informed of everything going on. Okay? And so, pro and con, good and bad, for and against. Take it all in, get to that common place, and then we can move forward. And on July 4th, that's this upcoming Saturday, just a couple of days from now, wherever you are, I would encourage you to reach out. You can reach out over messaging or phone call or using one of these video conference things. But reach out and talk to each other in this vein, okay? And July 4th is Independence Day, and we really need to declare independence from the influence that some of these organizations have on us, especially like the two political parties. They have worked very hard. There's some wealthy, powerful people, ultimately, that are running the political parties, and they've worked very hard, extremely hard, to try to alienate us from each other, to try to separate us into two tribes, because if they know that if they push some simple hot buttons on us, that they think they can corral all of us into these two tribes, or at least control 40 or 45% of the nation by either pressing these so-called conservative values or pressing these so-called liberal values, and thereby trying to keep us in two camps, and then they can count on us, or on at least that base or that level of support. And now they're only fighting over 5 or 10% of the country because we allow just a simple majority in most instances to rule. So if they can get one vote more than 50%, they get their way, and they're able to get automatically, if you will, they're able to automatically get 40, 45% of the country because they've been pushing these buttons, and that we're allowing that. Me and you and the rest of us, we're allowing that to happen. We can't let that happen. Independent. We need to be independent. We need to be looking at the facts, the pro and the con, the good and the bad, the for and against. So anyway, on July 4th, reach out. If you're in the streets, of course, with the pandemic, don't physically approach people. Stay 6, 8, 10 feet away from them. But you can still say, hi, I am pledging to you that I'm going to be a better neighbor. What do I mean by that? I mean that I am going to listen to you and your concerns and how you arrive at your position on the issues. I would ask the same, and then let's get to that common ground. And interestingly enough, that's the name of today's show, is Common Ground. And yesterday I talked about TED.com, TED Talks, okay, and how great they are. And one of the good ones is this guy named Matt Trombley. His last name is spelled Trombley. Trombley. T as in tango. Okay. Now, what he did, he put together a TED Talk. It's 14 minutes long, and it's called The Beauty and Complexity of Finding Common Ground. And now, I've been talking in hundreds of videos about the importance of being better citizens, is specifically in trying to find the common ground. And how do you do that? Well, you have to get the information, the pro and the con, the good, the bad, the for and against. So now Mr. Trombley puts this in a different light, but it's in some way, well, it's always insightful. So these TED Talks, almost always insightful. I can't think of one that I watched that I didn't think that was worth watching. Now Mr. Trombley talks about a couple of terms that I think are important. Agonism. Taking a warlike stance in contexts that are not literally war. And this is what we've been doing here over the last handful of years. Rather than, having a discourse about the issues and talking about them, and yes, disagreeing about various aspects, and, we got to work through various things. There's something close to 340 million of us. There are going to be differing opinions, you bet. But what's been most true over the last short period of time is we've taken on this warlike stance when we're literally, or should not be, at war. Okay, and it has a lot to do with the political parties, pressing the buttons and all that kind of stuff. The political parties and their agents. So what he talks about is why this is really bad, and the importance of oh God, I'm not going to remember it now. Anyway, let me keep going. Anyway, and so part of his presentation, he talks about how he is an evangelical, okay? Now, depending on who you are, you're going to react to that, and or not. I mean, there's some people, okay, who cares? But there's this kind of agonism over, like, Republican versus Democrat, or evangelical, or Christian, or Muslim, or these kinds of things, where people automatically start taking the warlike stance when they're not at war. And so he taught grace. Okay, he talks about, hey, give some grace here. Now, he talks about extraordinary grace, and I don't think it even needs to be extraordinary. I don't consider allowing someone to talk a little bit and telling me how they arrived at their place to be extraordinary grace. That should be ordinary. We should just say, yes, okay. We want to resolve our issues. Tell me the path in life. Tell me how you got where you are. Let me tell you how I got where I am. And we never do this, and it's so effective in doing it, in resolving issues and resolving conflict. The other thing he talks about, as far as grace and in his definition, is kind of this level of forgiveness. And again, this is something that if you're not going to take that warrior stance with someone, even though maybe you genuinely don't like them because you've grown to know them or whatever, you can still have enough grace or if you will, forgiveness to at least listen to what they have to say. So he quotes, there was a victim of the Holocaust, okay? And that person survived and said this quote, "To forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover the prisoner was you." Yeah. So these are, pretty strong, powerful concepts, very helpful to all of us if we would spend the time, a little bit of grace, a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of recognition that we're, at least in these times, these last handful of years especially, we are full on in this agonism kind of mode, this mode around taking the warrior stance when no warrior stance is really warranted. And I put forth to you that having a discussion about whatever it is, guns, deficits, coronavirus, pandemic fixes, impeachment, various legislative bills and stuff like that, we've got to stop taking the warrior stance at the start of all these conversations, because then the conversations basically don't ever start, and we're at this impasse all the time. All right, so common ground, a little bit of grace, a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of recognition that we are way too much taking this warrior stance at times when it's not appropriate, and stopping us from getting to common ground. For the Pro and Con Show, my name is Michael James Ott, and until the next show, bye for now.